Hey everyone, you know all that buzz about AI getting closer to actually, thinking like us, not just spitting out facts, but actually reasoning things through.
It's pretty mind-blowing, right?
Totally. In this paper we're diving into today, DeepSeek R1, incentivizing reasoning capability in LLMs via reinforcement learning. Well, it's taking a huge step in that direction.
It really is. What's super cool here is that they've basically built a model that learns to reason almost entirely on its own. Like, imagine a kid figuring out a puzzle with zero help from a grown-up.
Okay, so no instructions, no coaching, just figuring it out solo.
Pretty much.
So let's unpack that a bit. We're talking about DeepSeek R10, right?
Right.
And it uses something called reinforcement learning.
Yeah, reinforcement learning.
Which is kind of like giving a computer a ton of problems to solve.
Right.
And then having this system that tells it, warmer or colder as it tries different approaches.
Exactly. And the amazing thing is that DeepSeek R10, it's not just randomly guessing, like it actually gets better over time. It learns from its mistakes, refines its approach.
So it's almost like it's developing like its own internal logic.
You could say that.
That's wild. So no hand-holding with labeled data. This thing is basically teaching itself how to think.
That's the really groundbreaking part here. It really challenges that traditional thinking that AI needs tons of pre-digested information to learn complex tasks.
Right.
DeepSeek R10 shows that with the right kind of feedback loop, these models can essentially bootstrap their way to higher levels of reasoning.
So the feedback loop is where those accuracy rewards and format rewards come in.
Exactly.
Like it gets points not only for getting the right answer, but also for explaining its thinking in a clear way.
It's like rewarding a student not only for getting the answer right, but also for showing their work, like, in a neat, organized way.
Gotcha. So is this like that aha moment they describe in the paper, where the model actually seems to pause, reassess, and then come up with a totally new approach?
Yes. It's like it's having these mini epiphanies.
Whoa. So we got DeepSeek R10, this whiz kid when it comes to reasoning, but the paper also mentions that its communication skills were a bit, rough around the edges, like it could solve the problem, but explaining its logic in a way humans could understand. Different story.
And that's where DeepSeek R1 comes in.
Okay.
Think of it as DeepSeek R10's more polished, articulate cousin. It builds on that foundation of R10, but adds this layer of refinement to its communication skills.
So they basically gave it a crash course in how to talk to humans.
Precisely. They introduced this cold start phase where they fed the model some initial data that was specifically designed to, improve its ability to generate, clear and understandable responses.
So like teaching it the art of conversation. Like, hey, AI, this is how you explain things so your human friends don't look at you with a blank stare.
Exactly. And the results are really quite impressive. Not only does DeepSeek R1 retain that reasoning power of its predecessor, but it's now able to communicate its findings in a much more, human-friendly way.
Okay, so this multi-stage training process, first, it learns to think for itself. Then they give it some pointers on communication. Did that get them closer to the performance of some of the leading models out there?
Absolutely. In fact, they were able to achieve performance on par with OpenAI 01-12-17.
Okay, and just for our listeners who might not be super familiar with all the different AI models out there, OpenAI 01-12-17.
That's considered like a top contender in the field.
So they basically built a model that can think like a genius and explain things like a professor.
You got it.
Wow, that's a game changer for all sorts of applications.
Absolutely. And what's even more exciting is that they didn't stop there. They wanted to make this kind of reasoning power more accessible, more democratized.
Okay, now you've really got my attention. Democratizing AI, what does that even mean?
Think of it like this. You have this incredible chef who can create these mind-blowing dishes, but their recipes, super complex. Only a handful of other elite chefs can even understand them. What if you could take those complex recipes and distill them down into something anyone could follow?
Ah, okay. So like AI for the masses, not just for those with massive supercomputers.
Exactly. They figured out how to take the essence of DeepSeek R1's knowledge, its reasoning patterns, problem-solving strategies, and distill it into smaller, more manageable models.
So like taking that master chef's elaborate recipe and turning it into a simple, easy-to-follow cookbook.
You got it.
And they were able to do that without sacrificing performance.
That's the remarkable part. They train these smaller models using architectures like Qwen and Llama, basically feeding them data generated by DeepSeek R1. And what's incredible is that these smaller models, despite their size, were able to perform exceptionally well.
Hold on. Even outperforming larger models.
Yeah, even surpassing them in certain benchmarks.
That's like saying the cookbook version of the dish actually tastes better than the original. So what made these smaller models so effective? What were those key ingredients they were able to capture?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, and that's what we'll dig into right after. A quick word from our sponsors.
All right, so we left off talking about distilling that essence of DeepSeek R1 into smaller, more accessible models. It's like, taking the brainpower of a supercomputer and making it available on, like, your everyday laptop.
Yeah, exactly.
So what were those key ingredients that made these smaller models so effective?
Well, it wasn't just about shrinking the size. They managed to, transfer the reasoning patterns, the actual problem-solving strategies of DeepSeek R1 into these smaller models.
Okay.
So think of it this way. DeepSeek R1 learned how to approach problems in a certain way, and they were able to teach those techniques to these smaller, more nimble models.
So it's like they created a mini-me version of DeepSeek R1,
Right.
but with the same smarts when it comes to problem solving.
Precisely. And the results were just, incredible. Despite their smaller size, these distilled models performed exceptionally well, even, surpassing larger, more resource-intensive models in some cases.
What?
This is huge because it means that powerful AI reasoning capabilities could become available to a much wider range of people and organizations.
So we're not just talking about, researchers at big tech companies anymore.
Right.
We're talking about, students, startups, maybe even, artists using AI to enhance their creative process.
Absolutely. Imagine a world where anyone with a laptop could tap into the power of AI reasoning to, solve complex problems, analyze data, or even generate new ideas. That's the potential of this democratization of AI.
It's like giving everyone a superpower. But let's back up a bit. Earlier you mentioned that DeepSeek R10, the self-taught model, had some limitations, especially when it came to, communicating clearly. How do they address that in DeepSeek R1?
They basically gave it a crash course in human communication. Yeah. They introduced that cold start phase where they trained the model on data that was specifically designed to improve its ability to generate clear, concise, human-friendly responses.
So they took this brilliant but kind of messy thinker and taught it how to express itself in a way that we mere mortals could understand.
Exactly. And this multi-stage training approach where they first focused on developing those reasoning abilities and then refined communication skills, well, it proved to be incredibly effective.
And they were able to achieve this without sacrificing performance. That's pretty impressive. What kind of benchmarks did they use to test DeepSeek R1? How did they know it was truly up to par with other leading models?
They tested DeepSeek R1 on a variety of industry standard benchmarks designed to evaluate reasoning and problem-solving abilities.
Okay.
These benchmarks included tasks like solving complex math problems, understanding logical relationships, and even, generating different creative text formats like poems or code.
So it wasn't just about crunching numbers. They wanted to see if DeepSeek R1 could really grasp those nuanced aspects of human intelligence, like creativity, abstract thinking.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that DeepSeek R1 not only performed well on these benchmarks, but in some cases, it actually outperformed some of the, most established models in the field.
So they're not just catching up to the competition, they're actually surpassing it in certain areas. That's a huge testament to the effectiveness of their approach. But even with these impressive results, I imagine there's still, challenges and areas for improvement.
Of course, like with any groundbreaking technology, there's always room for growth. One area they highlighted for future research is the model's sensitivity to prompts.
Okay.
What this means is that sometimes even slight variations in how a question is phrased can affect the model's response.
So it's like those tricky word problems in math class where changing just one word could completely change the answer.
Exactly. And that highlights the fact that while DeepSeek R1 is a major step forward, it's still learning, it's still evolving. There are still nuances of human language and reasoning that it, hasn't fully mastered.
But the fact that they're already, identifying these challenges and working on solutions, that's encouraging.
Right.
It shows a commitment to continuous improvement and, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this research so exciting. It's not just about, developing a single impressive model. It's about continually pushing the field forward and exploring new frontiers in AI.
So where do they go from here? What's next for DeepSeek R1 and the team at DeepSeek AI?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting, and that's a conversation we can dive into after this.
All right, so we've got this AI that can teach itself to reason. They've polished its communication skills, and they figured out how to, share its brain power with smaller models. What's next on the to-do list?
Well, one of the big focuses for future research is addressing that prompt sensitivity we talked about.
Right, they want to make the model more robust, so it doesn't get thrown off by those subtle changes in wording. Think of it like teaching the model to read between the lines and understand the intent behind a question, no matter how it's phrased.
So teaching it to be less literal and more like a human who can, understand the context of a conversation.
Exactly.
What else are they working on?
They're also looking at ways to, further enhance DeepSeek R1's general capabilities. Remember, it's already performing at a high level, but they believe there's still potential to push its reasoning and problem-solving abilities even further.
So they're not content with just building a smart AI. They want to build a super smart AI. What does that even look like?
It's hard to say for sure, but imagine an AI that can not only solve problems within a specific domain, but can also connect ideas across different fields.
Okay.
Think of it like an AI that can draw insights from, history, literature, science to come up with innovative solutions to problems in, say, healthcare or engineering. Okay, now that's getting into some serious sci-fi territory. But it's also incredibly exciting. This research is really opening up a world of possibilities for what AI can achieve. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second. What does all this mean for, the average person? How is this going to impact our lives?
Well, for one thing, it means that the power of AI is becoming more accessible than ever before. Remember those smaller distilled models we talked about?
Yeah.
Those could be the key to bringing AI capabilities to a much wider audience. Imagine students using AI tutors to help them learn complex subjects, or small businesses leveraging AI to, analyze data and make better decisions.
So it's not just about robots taking over the world. It's about using AI as a tool to empower people, help us solve real world problems.
Exactly. And as these models continue to improve and become more widely available, I think we can expect to see a wave of innovation across all sorts of industries: healthcare, education, transportation, entertainment, you name it. AI has the potential to transform it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about self-learning AI, communication skills, democratization, and even a glimpse into the future of super intelligent machines. What's the big takeaway message here? What do you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the key takeaway is that AI is evolving at an incredible pace. And it's no longer something that's, confined to research labs or science fiction movies. It's becoming an integral part of our lives, and it has the potential to change the world in really profound ways. But it's up to us as a society to, guide its development and ensure that it's used for good.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of the potential risks, the ethical considerations, but also embrace the incredible opportunities that AI presents. And who knows, maybe someday we'll look back at this research on DeepSeek R1 as one of those pivotal moments that help shape the future of AI.
It certainly has the potential to be. And the fact that they're open sourcing their models and encouraging others to build on their work, that's a testament to their belief in the power of collaboration and the importance of making AI accessible to everyone.
So to all those budding AI enthusiasts out there, the future is wide open. Go out there, experiment, explore, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next breakthrough in this exciting field.
And remember, the journey of AI is just beginning. There's so much more to discover, so much more to learn. So stay curious, keep exploring, and let's see where this incredible technology takes us.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into DeepSeek R1. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode of The Deep Dive, where we'll continue to explore the frontiers of knowledge and uncover those hidden gems of information that are shaping our world.